Hello, hello, hello. Hey, no hat today. I just realized that as I get on here. Here at a church, sitting outside, sitting on the park bench. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. Is my phone plugged in? Why is the power going down? Hold on. Well, hopefully this might disappear here. I don't know. I thought it was at 5%, but I'm plugged in. So, hold on. Anyways, I just wanted to send a message here that you're not alone in your struggles. I speak through a really, really, really positive lens. I can be sharing something that's not great and dark and it can hurt, and yet I share it through a lens of optimism. And the last 5 months have shown me that everyone is struggling with something, and a lot of times we don't know how to share it. We're afraid. There's trauma, there's issues, there's death, there's resolved childhood things, and at times we can think we're the only one struggling. And I've learned to just have astronomical amounts of empathy this year. I think that I have a shirt on, MIA, and from 2000 and 2004, I was in high school, till really 2021, I took enormous amounts of imperfect action. Came up with this because I spoke in Germany, and I was like, all the success I've had is because of this. And I really looked back, and I went up financially every year from 2000 and basically every year but 1 year, which was only my second main year in business out of high school, but every year from 2004 till 2013. And, even through the 2008 economy thing. But then after that, I went all over the map. And, I still took a lot of action. But I don't really believe that when I talked about anything is possible and you can do this and you can do that, I still took lots of action and still did lots of things. And, I don't think could relate to people who didn't take action. I really couldn't relate to people who, there's a lot I couldn't relate to, because I really kind of lived in a silo in my life of, when people had success that had worked with me. I realized that, now that I didn't know anything about trauma, I didn't know anything about really the mind or psychology or therapies or anything. I didn't know anything about any of that. And I just, people could spend time with me and they'd go on their merry way and their life would be better. And they'd be like, I wouldn't have done it I could have done it without you. And I'm like, I don't even know what I did but talk. But, I just don't really think I knew all the things that people had going on, from being a caregiver for their mom, their dad, their friend, their husband, their wife, their spouse, to divorces, to debt, to bills, responsibilities, kids, families, kids with mental health issues and autism, and just anything and everything that somebody can deal with. And I think psychologically, I had a lot of kind of personal struggles, and people died in their life, in my life, but I don't know, I just kept going forward, and I made more money and all these things. And it wasn't until 2021 that I got let go from this particular thing that I was working from. And the next few years, I went from the MIA MOA. And I got brain scans and learned about ADHD, and I've learned a ton about trauma and therapy and all these therapeutic modalities and, so much. And then overcoming, I felt like I tried to help people overcome in the past taking action, but I just took so much action that I think they took the action from a place of observation, not from a place of any kind of intellectual conversation that they could have with me about anything. That just my energetics alone solved their lack of action. But in recent times, I've observed that the same characteristic qualities that had me make and take a lot of action and make a lot of money and do really well were the same qualities that had me be really poor with my money. And so I went to the polar extreme, and that was not taking any action, but being really good with money. And in many ways, personally, I've been more happy than I've ever been in my whole life. But I've had less money than I've ever had in a very long time. So what I've had to work through psychologically is that taking the best character traits that I know for business and making money about me and still using those traits, which I haven't been. Taking the worst qualities that I had around not being good with money, and I've worked on that, and I've got those qualities now. And so keeping the qualities I have right now around being really good with money, while integrating back in the qualities that are really great at making money. And then taking the personal life that I'm really, really satisfied in, because at the peak of my income, personally, I was really unhappy. And so it's integrating all these things together and taking the best of all aspects of, hi there. So taking the best aspects of all of it now and integrating it all together. Because I can see, and this is what in studying, trauma now and the mind and, neuroplasticity and how our minds work and how, every single event that happens every single day of our life imprints things on our mind. So when somebody dies in your life, that has an imprint. Positive, negative, whatever, it has an imprint. When you break up with somebody, when you change careers, when you move states, when your business goes down, when your business goes up, when you do something and it works, when you do something and it doesn't work. All these different things make an imprint. And for many people, those imprints cause them to stagnate, cause them to be inactive, cause them to procrastinate, cause them to not take action, because ultimately the brain is designed to keep us safe. So even though what you may be doing might not be the best thing for you, you might be in a horrible relationship or a horrible situation, until the pain of staying the same gets greater than the pain of change, you will not change. You could, you might, you can, but the probability is lower. Because if your brain on a subconscious level is feeling that it's certain that it can predict its safety in the situation that it's in, it will continue to do on autopilot what it is doing, even if it's not the best thing for you. And so the problem is that if you're in this horrible relationship, it is in many ways to the brain safe, predictable, certain, and secure. And going into the unknown and maybe saying breaking up or whatever, that is not safe. It is not certain. It is unpredictable, right? It is not secure. It is like going into a dark basement, right? And even though, my office is in the basement of my house, and I know where everything is in there, yet, if the power went out and I had no flashlights or anything, there would be a part of me that would be scared to go into that basement. I would feel differently in my body to go into that basement because it's dark. And that's it. And in many ways, I've always been afraid of the dark. And until you can go into that darkness and tell your mind and tell your body and tell your entire way of your entire being that it is safe, you will not go into that darkness. So you will stay in the situation that, although that might not be great, feels safe. And so I've navigated these extremes of life, extreme imperfect action, generating a lot of money, traveling the world, doing all these things, but spending like a wild man, because I used to have this belief that was either you can do what you love and get by, or you can make a lot of money and be miserable. Our mind is a very, very powerful thing. I believe that my grandpa is still alive today, when on January 3rd, I was told that he had 2 weeks to live. It's January 3rd, 2024. It is May 30th, 2024. In many ways, he's doing better than he's ever done in the last 3 or 4 years. His mind isn't very good and his memory is not very good. I don't think he was ever told that he had 2 weeks to live. And even if he was, he probably forgot. And statistically speaking, a lot of people buy white coats when they're told they won't live for 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years. They go right around the time they're told they're going to. And some people go, F you, I ain't going anywhere. And those people overcome all odds. Not all, but many more than don't. And so what are you feeding your mind? And I realized for me, I fed my mind a lie many, many moons ago, which was you do what you love and you get by. Or you make a lot of money and you're miserable. And at the peak of my misery was ironically the peak of my income. And simultaneously, I was still getting by. And I went to the other extreme in my life and have taken care of my relationships, taken care of my inner mental game, taking care of being better with money, all these things. But I'd still had trapped emotions, feelings, and subconscious sabotage that making a lot of money means I'm going to burn relationships, be miserable, have a life that I don't love, and all these things. And if that on a subconscious level is what I believe, my brain will do everything in my power to not have the opposite. And I've been told by people that I do a version of like cognitive behavioral therapy, because that's the being able to flip the script in the mind of being able to take negative thoughts, the kind of the ants, as Dr. Amen will call it, automatic negative thoughts that happen, and be able to flip those, right? Because so many people, we're running on autopilot, we're running on automatic. And so until you can pause, reflect, and course correct, you're going to keep having these autopilot things happen. And a lot of times people's lives, whether they like them or not, are running on autopilot, right? So you have to pause, reflect, and course correct. And then you have to do this over and over, right? I got to pause there, right? That's one of those things that I do when something's happened and I can be like spiraling. I can pause, reflect, course correct. And you have to do this and keep telling your mind different things at different times so you can reshape your reality. Because if you keep planting watermelon seeds expecting apples, you're not going to get it. So if you keep planting, I suck, I'm not good, making a lot of money, you're an a-hole, and people with a lot of money are bad, and if all you see is money as an evil, negative, bad thing, and everyone who has it does horrible things and they're evil people, there's a high probability that if any of those things are beliefs, if you have super negative beliefs around money, I believe there are very few people, either you're neutral, negative, or positive. People with the most money have neutral or positive beliefs around money, not negative. Doesn't mean there aren't some with negative beliefs who happen to make a lot of money, but more people than not who have super toxic negative beliefs around money tend to be people who aren't very good at making it or keeping it. And I believe that I had toxic beliefs attached, negative traumas attached to a past where I made a lot of money, but didn't keep it. So I've been so much better at keeping it, but really not as good at making it. And now getting to experience this, come through this, and I will get to the other side of it, I believe I will be the full Monty of personal happiness, professional happiness, being good with money, and also being great at making it again, and having them all. But I've gone through the cycle of being great at making it, not at keeping it, being professionally unhappy, personally unhappy, personally happy, professionally, all these things, to be able to integrate them all together. But I don't like being a coach, whatever you want to call me. I go by mind mechanic, but people call me a therapist, a counselor. I can't legally probably call myself a therapist, but I go deep with people. But I don't believe that it's very challenging to take people as deep as you're willing to take yourself, to help people. If I'm telling you to have a difficult conversation with somebody and I'm not willing to, it doesn't mean nobody will if I tell people to do that, but a lot less will than, a lot less won't than will. And when I'm willing to do what I'm telling you, the probability that by you seeing that, by you experiencing it, by doing not just as I say, but as I do, it's so powerful. There's so many people out there who are do as I say, but not as I do. You need to see if those two integrate, if those two align. Because there's a lot of people out there saying do as I say, but not as I do. You watch what they're doing, because that's what you should probably do, not what they're saying. It depends on what they're saying for you to do or not do, but they typically should align. And there's a lot not out there. I mean, I see ads that are like, how to close people over DMs. And then you go through their thing and it's like, jump on the call with somebody so we can teach you how to close people over DMs without phone calls. It's like, why are you selling me on a phone call? So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. People teaching people how to use organic methods to grow their business while they're hardcore using advertised to grow theirs. And likely, which I've seen in people, they also used ads to grow theirs, but it's easier to sell an organic thing because it's free than it is to sell a paid thing. So anyway, it's just a lot of clarity, a lot of breakthroughs, but just know you're not alone. My wife had a surgery that a lot of people don't know about. I don't know how people hear this part, because that's maybe sometimes I say certain things, people don't hear it, but that was tough over the last 6 weeks. And she just got today that she's not going to be on any more medications. And I'm just over the moon. I've already been emotional about it. It's been a very emotional day. But I feel you. If you're struggling and you're going through things, you're not alone. I mean, you're not the only one struggling. I do my best to share whatever I can. Sometimes I'm not, not everything is going to be broadcast on the internet, but I try to share as much as I can to know that I'm working through things. I'm not above people or better than people. I have my issues and struggles as well. But we can get through things. We can overcome. We can change. We can get better. We can heal. It is possible, and there is hope. And so I'm sending you tons of